presents. Great to have you here today. It's a great story for today. The Chimp and the Chinaman. The Chinaman and Chimp. I can't quite remember. But anyway, it's a good old southern story of China. And it's also an allegory based on the Bible. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, then maybe you want to go listen to a kiddie show instead. Have you ever noticed how delicious second-day potato wedges covered with ants are? This is called The Chinaman and the Chimp, or A Feast Fit for a King. It's an allegory of China. It's taken, or I should say, it utilizes Luke 12:13. A man in the crowd said to him, "Master, tell my brother to give me a share of our inheritance." And he said to him, "My friend, who appointed me your judge or the arbitrator of your claims?" Then he said to them, "Watch, be on your guard against avarice of any kind, for life doesn't consist in possessions, even when someone has more than he needs." Then he told him a parable. There once was a rich man who, having a good harvest from his land, thought to himself, "What am I to do? I have not enough room to store my crops." And then he said, "This is what I'll do. I'll pull down my barns and build bigger ones and store all my grain and my goods in them. And I will say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid by for many years to come. Take things easy, eat, drink, have you a good time." Elohim said to him, "Fool, this very night the demand will be made for your soul. And this hoard of yours, whose will it be then?" So it is when somebody stores up treasure for himself instead of becoming rich in the sight of Elohim. Then we go to Qoheleth, or Ecclesiastes 1:12 and following. Qoheleth, by the way, means the preacher or the speaker. And it's probably the original name, at least as far as we can tell, of the book that's called Ecclesiastes, which means the church book. 1:12. I, Qoheleth, have reigned over Israel in Jerusalem. Wisely I've applied myself to investigation and exploration of everything that happens under the sky. What a wearisome task God has given humanity to keep us busy. I've seen everything that's done under the sun, how futile it all is, merely chasing after wind. I thought to myself, very well, I will try pleasure and see what enjoyment has to offer. And this was futile too. This laughter, I reflected, is a madness. This pleasure, no use at all. I decided to hand my body over to drinking wine, and my mind still guiding me in wisdom, I resolved to embrace folly, to discover the best way for people to spend their days under the sun. I worked on a grand scale, built myself palaces, planted vineyards, made myself gardens and orchards, planting every kind of fruit tree in them, had pools made for watering the young trees of my plantations, and I bought slaves, male and female, had home-born slaves as well. Herds and flocks I had too, more than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold, the treasures of kings and provinces, acquired singers, men and women, and every human luxury, chest upon chest of it. I even had my own soap opera. So I grew great, greater than anyone in Jerusalem before me. Nor did my wisdom leave me. I denied my eyes nothing that they desired, refused my heart no pleasure, for I found all my hard work a pleasure. Such was the return for all my efforts, and then reflected on all my hands had achieved and all the effect I had put into its achieving. What futility it all was! What chasing after the wind! There's nothing to be gained under the sun. All I have toiled for under the sun and now bequeathed to my successor, I have come to hate. Who knows whether he'll be a wise man or a fool? That he will be master of all the work into which I have put my efforts and wisdom under the sun, and that's futile too. Here's a quote from Locutus the Borg. Resistance is futile. Now from Psalm 49. Why should I be afraid in times of trouble? Malice dogs me, hems me in. They trust in their wealth and boast of the profusion of their riches. No one can ever redeem himself or pay his own ransom to Elohim. The price for himself is too high. It can never be that he will live on forever and avoid the sight of the abyss. For you will see the wise also die no less than the fool and the brute, and leave their wealth behind for others. Forever no home but their tombs, their dwelling place age after age, though they gave their name to whole territories. In prosperity, people lose their good sense. They become no better than dumb animals. So they go on in their self-assurance right up to the end. They are content with their lot. They are penned in Sheol like sheep. Death will lead them to pasture, and those who are honest will rule over them. In the morning, all trace of them will be gone. Sheol will be their home. But my soul, Elohim will ransom from the clutches of Sheol and will snatch me up. Do not be overawed when someone gets rich and lives in ever greater splendor. When he dies, he will take nothing with him. His wealth will not go down with him, though he pampered himself while he yet lived. And people praise you for looking after yourself. He will go join the ranks of his ancestors who will never again see the light. In prosperity, people lose their good sense. They become no better than dumb animals. Can you hear me all right? People are omnivores. They eat just about anything. Some things we'd never put near our mouths are considered delicacies in other locales. Poison blowfish are eaten raw in Japan. Some have died from blowfish poison. The Japanese, they keep eating them. Islanders on our side of the world eat another poison fish, that is a barracuda. I have a friend from the Bahamas named Carl, whose father died after eating a barracuda. Did you know some folk eat fried blowfly cakes one season every year when the wind brings billions in? I've seen them. And in some cultures, cow's blood and milk are mixed together like a milkshake. Some cultures, they eat their monkeys and consider a monkey to be a feast fit for a king. Today, I want to shout allegory about such a feast. Please look at the symbolism, or you won't get the whole thing. You just hear the story. You won't get the meaning. An allegory is a story where there's meaning behind it that you won't get unless you know what the symbols mean or you can figure them out. Once upon a time, in a poor village deep in the heart of China, there lived a powerful Mandarin. His name, Ooo-ee-oo-ah-ah. He was feared by the peasants because of his ancestors' brutality. But now the days of golden winds had passed. His fortune and his power were dwindling, his palace crumbling, his influence waning. The next hard rain would take off the roof, I know that. This Mandarin was in constant agitation, considering how he might maintain his estate and appearance of wealth. Then one day, unexpectedly, a golden rickshaw pulled into the Mandarin's courtyard. Official-looking messengers surprised the Mandarin of a very special occasion, an imperial visit to his domain. In 2 weeks, read the messengers from paper scrolls, His Imperial Majesty Ghengis Khan the 16th will visit the venerable Mandarin Ooo-ee-oo-ah-ah to discuss a business proposition. Said Mandarin is to make all the appropriate preparations immediately. There was no discussion. The messengers, they left the scroll, retreated back to their rickshaw, and returned to the Khan. No king had ventured out this far in over a century. As the Mandarin considered what the visit might entail, he recognized that his palace just wasn't fit for a man of his own stature, much less a king. Yet his avaricious mind also considered the possibility that this visit might be an opportunity for the name Ooo-ee-oo-ah-ah to become great once again. After all, didn't the messenger say the king had business? Yes, he did. So the Mandarin called his servant for tea. He sent another out there to summon the 6 village elders, Mr. Ting, Mr. Tang. 2 brothers there with the same name. They was the Waller brothers. Then there's Mr. Bing and Mr. Bang. And a 7th man was the witch doctor of the community, Mr. Bugchow, often called Bugchow, the Beast. In 20 minutes, the council was seated in the once lavish dining room of the palace. After tea, the Mandarin announced, "Our village will be blessed by a visit from King Ghengis Khan the 16th, 2 weeks from today. It's an embarrassing shame that you elders of my village should have allowed your Mandarin's palace to fall into disrepair. Now, I'm leaving it up to you to see to my palace. I'm also charging you with providing the feast fit for a king, which we haven't enjoyed in many years." There was a silence, but Mr. Ting finally spoke up. He replied, "Sir, we are, as you know, poor men. How is it that we're going to pay to complete preparation in such a short span of time?" Well, the Mandarin, he had a ready plan. "I shall lend you my authority to command our peasants be put to labor on the palace. As for the financing," the Mandarin, he reached into his dragon red vest. "Here is the last silver Wang-ho in our treasury, to be used only for such emergencies." The Mandarin presented the gleaming coin to Mr. Ting with much ado. "After your purchases are made, you shall return this silver Wang-ho to my hand," said the Mandarin. But, blurted Ting, "how shall we buy yet return the money?" Ooo-ee-oo-ah-ah, the powerful Mandarin, pressed forward in his seat, waiting for that question, glaring at Ting. "Mr. Ting, maybe it'd be much more appropriate for you to interrogate the wise Mr. Bugchow, seated at your left, about such a matter, and not me." The witch doctor, Bugchow, the Beast, hearing that this was to be his responsibility, began to sweat. True, the Mandarin had lost much power, but he still retained a menagerie of henchmen to make his word the law. With a final glare, the council was dismissed, led out by armed guards, and left outside the broken gate. As Ting, Tang, Waller, Bing, and Bang walked back to their hovels, they discussed the task set before them. Why would the Mandarin give silver Wang-ho to spend if we must return it? Mr. Waller, too, said, "The silver Wang-ho is enough to repair the entire property, yet the Mandarin will only lend it." Mr. Bing chimed in, "Friend, we need not spend it on labor anyway, for the villagers must work at their own expense on the palace. The Mandarin told us we need only make it presentable." Mr. Bang said, "You're right, Bing. The Mandarin's fortunes may turn as a result of the king's business. Waller number 1 added, "Yes, comrades, villagers must work without pay, but didn't the Mandarin command us to provide a feast fit for a king? Well, you know what that means." Ting interjects, "Yes, we know what that means. We must acquire a chimpanzee for the feast. Now, where are we going to get a chimpanzee?" You see, when the Mandarin requested a feast fit for a king, he meant an unbroken tradition that must be observed by serving the customary royal delicacy. That is, chimpanzee fricassee. And of course, the chimp's carefully stewed head presented au jus with raisins, cloves, and lychee nuts in a delectable and attractive way. Was for the king's consumption only. This was what the Mandarin meant when he commanded a feast fit for a king. You see, not long ago, it wasn't so difficult to provide a chimp. All one had to do was hike to the monkey tree, pick out a juicy specimen, and bring it down with a rifle shot, carefully avoiding the head lest the guest of honor break his teeth on the bullet. But now it was nearly impossible to secure a decent banquet chimp. The Animal Preservation Treaty of Kathmandu outlawed the use of firearms in hunting chimps. The penalty was hanging. The only way a chimp could be acquired now was to catch one. That was impossible. Chimps were simply too smart to make themselves so available like that. "Shall we pay a poacher with that silver Wang-ho to get us the chimp, then steal that Wang-ho back later?" asked Mr. Tang rhetorically. "Certainly not, comrade," replied Mr. Ting. "Our lives are at stake. What did the Mandarin command us? Do you not remember?" Mr. Bang remembered. "I clearly heard him say we were to consult with the witch, Bugchow, who was seated at Mr. Tang's left." Bugchow, the beast, finally spoke up. "Yes, man, the Mandarin said the plan would be my responsibility. I shall have to consult the spirit of this world in order that we may get our feast fit for a king. In the meantime, you set the villagers to work on the palace and meet me right under the monkey tree at dawn on the 4th day. Oh, Mr. Ting, bring that silver Wang-ho with you." Then they dispersed among the villagers to assign duties. But the witch Bugchow went straight for his laboratory to conjure up the spirit of this world. His life and the lives of the entire council were at stake. Bugchow needed big medicine. Meanwhile, in the jungle, a forest of hemp and nettles surrounded 3 huge trees. A great battle was once fought hereabouts, and some remnants of war machines could still be found. One of the trees was a tall coconut that shed leaves and fruit throughout the year. The second was a thick lychee tree, full of blossoms and nuts and fruit. The third, now that was a monkey tree, a 70-foot Moringa tree that encompassed the others. In the canopy of the Moringa lived a family of chimps. Now, they had access to all the Moringa's healing properties, plus the fruits, nuts, milk, and flesh of the other trees. The chimpanzees, they had little reason to leave their leafy paradise. Even their water dropped from the sky daily, and below was only hemp, nettles, and debris. Since the ban on monkey shooting, the colony had little to fear, though curiosity sometimes carried them down to explore this little thing or that on the ground. One morning then, early, Ting, Tang, Walla, Walla, Bing, and Bang, having set the villagers to work on the palace in preparation for the Khan, were making their way through the undergrowth to the monkey tree. The hard way to go. Bing had already fallen into the nettle patch. It was red as a yellow man could be, that is, a bright orange. Tang stepped on a rusty nail from an old war wagon. Walla the first was plumb tuckered out, As the elders approached the monkey tree in full sight of its inhabitants above, staring down in curiosity, recalling that these fellas used to bring guns. But no guns. These elders sat upon the barrel of a rusty cannon near the monkey tree. They wondered what to do next, and where was Bugchow, the beast, the witch doctor? What will we do without the plan? Cried Mr. Bang as the monkeys above heckled the sextet, pointing their long fingers and cackling like ninnies. Waller, the second, is a man of action, especially after being drained by 1,000 biting flies. It's time for battle, he shouted. And like a kamikaze, he fought his way through the nettles to the trunk of that moringa tree. He started shimmering up, cursing, swearing he'd bring down that main course with bare hands if necessary. Now, Mr. Bang, he received an honorable mention, ascending the trunk about 7 feet before being pelted with wet balls of some material not mentionable in decent company. Down descended Bang in the agony of defeat, banging into a nettle patch full of chiggers, brandishing his kerchief like the white flag of surrender, wiping slime from his eyes. Now, stealing his moment of fame, a more formidable figure approached the old cannon through the hemp. It was the witch doctor Bugchow, late. He contacted the spirit of this world and had a foolproof plan for providing them Mandarin with meat for the feast fit for a king. Bugchow addressed Mr. Ting. Sir, did you bring the silver Wang-ho with you? Yes, I have it right here, replied the tormented Ting. As he opened his hand up, the Wang-ho caught the bright gleam of the sun, projecting a light beam into the monkey tree. Every chimp saw that. Excellent, said the witch doctor. Oh, let's get to work. While the chimps above were spitting, cackling, squirting, throwing pods down on Ting Tang, Walla, Bing, and Bang, Bugchow, the witch doctor, barked orders he'd received from the infernal spirit of this world. Mr. Tang, clear away the hemp under the monkey tree. Twist it together to make a strong twines 3 meters long. Mr. Bing, crawl under the tree yonder. Find a dry, hollow coconut. Don't come back without a dry one. Mr. Waller, bring an old rifle from the war. Waller won. He knew shooting a chimp would mean execution. He wasn't going to do that. But Sir Bugchow, he spat, we haven't any bullets. Bugchow just ignored him. Just find us the rifle, sir. Mr. Bang, you climb under that lychee tree and get a bayonet. That's the caution you brought your pocket knife. No, sir, I did not, replied Bang. Go find your bayonet. Bugchow continued. Waller, too orange right now to do anything but hold my umbrella. Bugchow produced a large parasol from his robe, opened it, and handed it to Waller. This time, pods, putrid liquid, mushy material, and rotten coconuts hailed down upon these respectable fellows like missiles down on Baghdad. The enemies in the tree felt confident they'd win since these men had no guns.
Hey, Bishop, repeat after me. This is Bishop Daniel Ben Regesh.
This is Bishop Daniel Ben Regesh.
Thank you for listening to Jackson Snyder Present.
Thank you for listening to Jackson Snyder Presents.
We're going to take a short break.
We'll
be right back after... Feckless Platitudes.
Feckless Platitudes.
Perfect. Now, you ready for the next one?
Yes.
This is Bishop Daniel Ben Regesh.
I
hope you enjoyed your feckless platitude.
I hope you enjoyed your feckless platitudes.
Let's say, I forgot what to say after that. No, we don't need to say it. Hope you enjoy your feckless platitudes. We'll say, a daily dose of feckless platitude.
A daily dose of feckless platitudes.
Helps keep the boogers out of your nose.
Helps keeps the boogers out of your nose.
Thank you, Bishop. That all you got to say?
That's all I have to say.
All right. Perfect.
It keeps you out of trouble.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Ting shouted over the din of the cackling. "And what should I do, sir?" Bugchow replied. You just flash that silver Wang-ho over your head, so our feast fit for a king up in the drumstick tree gets a good look." So Ting flashed the Wang-ho. The apes in the canopy, they all quieted down. The pelting stopped as the curiosity started. About an hour later, Mr. Ting was still flashing that silver Wang-ho in the air, and the apes were fixated upon it. "Can I stop now?" asked Ting. The hemp beneath the monkey tree had been cleared away and braided into twine. All parties had returned, successful in their scavenging. Mr. Bang used the bayonet to bore a 2-inch hole into the dry coconut provided by Mr. Bing. Then he unscrewed the rifle strap hinge and screwed the hinge to the coconut. Did you get that? "Hey, you, who's making all that noise in the background? Can't you hear I'm trying to talk now? Turn off your microphone or hang up that phone right now, I'm telling you." Mr. Bang used the bayonet to bore a 2-inch hole in that dry coconut provided by Mr. Bing. Then he unscrewed the rifle strap hinge and screwed the hinge to the coconut. Then Mr. Bang ran into the clearing under the monkey tree and beat the bayonet into the ground as far as it'd go with a rock. Mr. Tang, he tied an end of his hemp twine to that strap hinge on the coconut before running out into the clearing and tying the other end to the bayonet. So now the bung-hole coconut was firmly attached to the bayonet, stuck fast in the ground by a hemp twine 9 feet long. The chimps, they was fascinated with the whole show, watching from their perches above. Now, after testing the strength of the twine, Bugchow the beast advised Mr. Ting, "You may now stop flashing the silver Wang-ho and hand it to me, sir." Bugchow took the coin, and he held it aloft as he walked toward the monkey tree, gathering the coconut in the other hand. He held up the items in his hands like an offering. Then Bugchow intoned the magic words, "Ooga booga hick hike hoke." And then he dropped the priceless Wang-ho into the coconut hole. It just barely fit in there, too. Bugchow, he'd make sure his prey knew the coin was inside that hollow coconut by shaking it really well. The rattling of it was heard for half a mile at least. The chimps looked at each other and at the coconut, eyes wide in eager perplexity. How curious they were. Then Bugchow the beast gave his last order as he dropped the coconut back onto the ground just beneath the monkey tree. "Comrades, sit and wait. See what the spirit of the world can do." To the 7 Chinamen, while they retreated to the rusty cannon again, where they all sat down, Bugchow congratulated them all. "Well done, comrades." Mr. Ting passed the canteen of sweet tea, and they all waited. Now, one young chimp had personality on top of audacity. Though he was Chinese, his mother prayed he'd become an English school teacher when he grew up, and she named him Mr. Chips by faith. Chips was the perfect entree around which to arrange the rest of the feast fit for a king. Lean yet juicy he was, and mother already had him dressed. She discovered a Japanese sailor suit in one of those old war chests some months earlier. Mr. Chips had everything he needed and more in the spreading canopy. See, all the moringa leaves and pods he could eat, all the coconut, slugs and bugs, and the daily shower. He had playmates, a great family. Most important of all, safety and security way up there. You see, the law of liberty protected Mr. Chips and his kind from the attacks of beasts with rifles from below. The law had taken away their guns. But while all the chimps were awed by the gleam of the silver of Wang-ho, and they'd all witnessed Bugchow, the beast, pop it into the hollow shell, and all could see those Chinamen sitting on the cannon like monkeys on a desk, only Mr. Chips had the ambition and business acumen to go for that glistening, rattling silver Wang-ho, his ticket to England and Cambridge University. So with the help of a river of adrenaline, Chips dashes down the trunk of the great Moringa, completes a double flip on the lowest branch, drops gracefully to the ground, speeds to the dry coconut, thrusts his paw into the bunghole, grasps the silver Wang-ho. Then, when he tries to pull his paw out, it won't pull. He tries again, it won't pull. It's stuck fast. You see, Chips hadn't the maturity to realize that the only way he's going to have his paw is to let go of that Wang-ho. So instead, he's going to take the whole coconut into the canopy and figure it out up there in safety. As he dives for the lowest limb, the hemp twine yanks him back to the ground with a thump. Bing and bang, they're off the cannon immediately and after him. They chase Chips around the moringa tree 3 times. The hemp winds around the trunk. Chips, he at the end of his rope, unwilling to let go of that Wang-ho. He's apprehended as Mr. Bang casts his shirt over Chip's head, and Mr. Bing grabs his ugly feet. Mr. Tang pulls loose the bayonet, unwinds the rope, secures Mr. Chip's paws, and the gang's off to prepare a feast fit for a king. "Good job, fellas!" cries Mr. Ting in excitement. And goodbye, Mr. Chips.
Hey, carbon, yaşlık yoldaşım, seni yüreğimde suyu uyattın, mığlansam inen tangısız başım, jırların belal beni yuvattın, mığlansam inen tangısız başım, jırların belal beni yuvattık. Baylı bu kişte yağmurı uğram, jır tərəfəmə kilib ağla. Min tın bulmədə işətib tıram, qarmun uramğa beni şaqıram. Unutmadım min ələ o jırını, tağın көңілdə қозғалды улымың. Алып кел миңа сүйген ярымны, яшілік yoldaşım garmun, ey garmun, alıp kilmine sigen yarımını, yaşlık yoldaşım garmun, ey garmun.
Now, the story really over here, but when I write an allegorical sermon, the story just never wants me to quit. I'm greedy about the ending. I want you to want it as much as Mr. Chips wants the Wang-ho. However, I suppose I just sum it all up right now and leave it go. The moral of the story? First, the Mandarin Ooo-ee-oo-ah-ah could have spent his silver Wang-ho to completely refurbish his palace and aid all the people of the village as he ruled, if he wasn't so grasping and fearful of letting go of his emergency fund. Instead of doing the right thing, in the end, he didn't get his Wang-ho back, nor did he get his feast fit for a king. What he did get was a cheap coat of paint on a palace he couldn't use anyway, for the Khan came to visit a day early, you see. When his feast wasn't awaiting him, he had everybody on the premises, Mandarin and all, beheaded in the palace meeting room. As for the greed of Ooo-ee-oo-ah-ah, a quote from that author people love, I think his name, Qoheleth is the most appropriate moral. He says, cast aside those who liken godliness to whimsy and who try to combine their greed for wealth with a desire for a happy afterlife. Good quote from Qoheleth. Next, let's talk about Ghengis Khan, the 16th, the king of all the devils. He thought it generous to offer up a deal for the Mandarin's property until he arrived to find the appropriate honor wasn't being given by the thoughtless ingrate. Even though Khan was a day early. You see, a demon should always be prepared for the devil's visit, no matter what the cost. Did you hear that? A demon should always be prepared for the devil's visit, no matter what the cost. The devil can't be trusted to arrive at an appointed time, and dealing with him will lose you your very self. No better moral could I find for Khan's avarice than a quote from the little magazine Top Dollar. Reads for amateurs. Disorder, chaos, anarchy. Now that's real fun. Somebody said they like that over here. They're screaming. I don't know. Did you get your nose caught in that mousetrap again? In the chaos of Khan's deadly visit, one of his draft horses spooked and careened wildly around the palace, stomping the cage holding a chimp named Chips. Those hooves freed Chips of not only his bamboo cage, but also of the hollow coconut locked on his grip for the last 10 days. The good guy broke loose and he ran with that valuable coin, and after saying goodbye to mother and family at the monkey tree, Mr. Chips was off to Shanghai to catch the midnight express to Bucharest, then on to Cambridge University. In the years to come, the ape, Mr. Chips, was to become the Right Reverend Bishop Frederick W. Farrar of the Church of England. His book of sermons, preached at Westminster Abbey, entitled The Amelioration of the World, is still read by chimps today. The moral of Mr. Chimp's story comes from Jane Austen. Nobody minds having what's too good for them, even if that nobody is cued to be stewed with raisins, nuts, and cloves. But heaven loved Mr. Chips, And he became far better than his mother expected by the providence of God and the authority of the mighty Church of England. Finally, the elders of the village, now subjected to the ruthless son, Ghengis Khan the 17th, were required to present a feast fit for a king every Sunday morning forever. Bing and bang, they no longer needed Bugchow the beast to provide a monkey plan. They caught as many monkeys as they wanted by building many traps, putting an English walnut in the coconut. No valuable Wang-ho necessary, just an English walnut. These monkeys, including Mr. Chip's family, they were tricked, and they are carted away in the droves. There was a monkey head on Sunday for His Highness the Khan, and monkey meat to spare. The whole village henceforth regularly partook of the feast fit for kings, but appropriated by commoners. Now, finally, as for Bugchow the beast, he never cared for monkey anyhow. Instead, he prefers the flesh, blood, bones of men and women, especially greedy, avaricious ones. After the escape of Mr. Chips, Bugchow the beast made a meal of Mandarin. That's my story for today. Chillin'. And I'll be seeing you maybe Tuesday night. May God bless you all and keep your hand out of the coconut. And if you do get that Wang-ho, don't forget pay your tithe.
So here's your old friend, sitting at my desk in my lonely room, picking out of a can of cold Hormel chili with turkey, 98% fat-free, by the way, and having my favorite drink here, Clamato with a Twizzler. That's good. Adjusting my blue Nessie microphone, I thought I ought to explain a little bit about this particular allegory, that is the Chinaman and the Chimp, at least the symbols. I don't think I said this at the beginning, but now you can think back a little bit, and you can recognize China as the world. The Mandarin, known as Ooo-ee-oo-ah-ah, is the local demonic tyrant of that place. King Ghengis Khan the 16th is the devil. Mr. Bugchow is a wizard or an occult medium. The village elders are the ghosts of the world. The villagers are the slaves of the tyrant. That silver Wang-ho is the allure of wealth. The Moringa tree is the new covenant. All the trees are Yahweh's providence. Chimpanzees are the new covenant people. The monkey trap, a devilish device. And Mr. Chips, an evangelist who fails, then succeeds. Yes, this was an allegoric story based on Luke 12:13 and following, and Qoheleth 1 and 2, that is Ecclesiastes. Here in my lonely room. And based loosely also on Psalm 49. Hear this, all peoples. Give ear, all inhabitants of the world, both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth shall speak wisdom. The meditation of my heart shall be understanding. I will incline my ear to a proverb. I will solve my riddle to the music of the lyre. Why should I fear in times of trouble when the iniquity of those who cheat me surrounds me, those who trust in their wealth and boast of the abundance of their riches? Truly, no man can ransom another or give to Elohim the price of his life, for the ransom of their life is costly and can never suffice, that he should live on forever and never see the pit. For he sees that even the wise die. The fool and the stupid alike must perish, and leave their wealth to others. Their graves are their homes forever, their dwelling places to all generations, though they call lands by their own names. Man in his pomp will not remain. He's like the beasts that perish. This is the path of those who have foolish confidence. Yet after them people approve of their boasts. Selah. Like sheep They are appointed for Sheol. Death shall be their shepherd, and the upright shall rule over them in the morning. Their forms shall be consumed in Sheol, with no place to dwell. But Elohim will ransom my soul from the power of Sheol, for he will receive me. Selah. Be not afraid when a man becomes rich, when the glory of his house increases, for when he dies, he will carry nothing away. His glory will not go down after him, for though while he lives he counts himself blessed, and though you get praise when you do well for yourself, his soul will go to the generations of his fathers who will never again see light. Man in his pomp, yet without understanding, is like the beasts that perish. I might also add that I had a little joke at the end of that you probably didn't get, but if you ever went into a Chinese restaurant, which you shouldn't, you can get Mandarin duck as one of the specialties of the house. Well, at the end, Bugchow, you might remember, had for his meal Mandarin.
With black curtains near the station.
So that's all for today, folks, with the Jackson Snyder Presents show. Hope to see you tomorrow. Don't forget, January 22nd through 29th in Vero Beach, Florida, 2017. We've got boot camp. It's free to you. Just go out to veroyaha.org for information. Also, the Enoch calendar. You can get yours at enoch-calendar.com. Let's all try to be good and be ready for the Millennium Kingdom, which is already here. Amen.